Unpublished is back, y'all. She's back, and she's on camera. It's 2025, new year, new me. He and his friends used to play cowboys and Indians across him as boys. He and his friends used to play cowboys and Indians across him as boys. Again, editing. I was 19, y'all, okay? 19. I wasn't an editor yet. Cut me some slack. Welcome to Unpublished, a work in progress audio podcast by Denise Renee. Here I share past unpublished creative works, current writing projects, still in process, and whatever whimsical musings or deep thoughts I have about the creative process. If this is your vibe, then keep listening as I get into today's content. Hey writers, it's your girl Denise Renee, business book writing coach and manuscript editor, and welcome to the first episode of Unpublished of 2025 and the first episode of Unpublished in 6 months. Listen, your girl's been busy, okay? She's still busy. Today is October, Jesus. It is February 1st, okay? Let's try that again. And no, I'm not editing. Okay? It is February 1st. You see what time it is. I have a long day ahead of me. And I should have recorded this earlier in the week. I did not get the opportunity to. So now I'm doing it now. And I will post this later because I said I was going to post. And in 2025, I am all about making sure that I keep the promises that I make to myself. So I had promised y'all in the last episode, I think it was episode 6, that I was going to read some more of the stories that I wrote in college. And here is my big old binder. And where I am, this is not my usual setup in my teaching office where I do my videos. This is my workstation. This is where I'm at most of the days. My workstation in my living room. So I have 2 couches. I have a little love seat. It's like I can touch each side of the thing, and then I have the bigger one where I recorded Pages on. So if you didn't check out Pages, I published that last Saturday, even though I recorded it at the beginning of January. So my uploading schedule is going to be Pages one week and then Unpublished the next. Kind of a running theme for Pages and Unpublished over the next couple of somethings until I publish my book is going to be my book. But I wanted to get back to just sharing that I actually also write fiction. I haven't published fiction. I've been writing for a long time, and the easiest things for me to share with you all are things that I'm probably not going to publish. I mean, maybe I will. I may do a collection called The College Years, but the irony, of course, is that the fact that I'm actually sharing this in a recordable form, it makes it published. So any of y'all trolls out there, it's not you guys, but the trolls that be looking for content to steal. This is now copyrighted. Okay. So anywho, so today I actually just literally made a last minute decision and switched up the story that I was going to read. So I'm going to do this one. It is called Greener Grass. This is one of the millions of drafts that I have of it. But nevertheless, we're going to rock with it. We're not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read some of it. And then in my next unpublished episode, I will read the other part of it. And then I will probably talk about something like current in terms of my book. So I don't know. We'll see. But you will be getting fiction. I do have a collection of fiction stories that I've written or that I'm working on, I should say, because I've been working on it off and on for about 2 years. When I get closer to publication, I'll start sharing those. So that's that with that. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to hit the microphone. But anyway, listen, your girl is 51 and she be needing these to read, okay? Just to make sure she's seen everything clearly. So I will say one piece of commentary and then we're going to get into this. So one piece of commentary I will say is that me going back to my older work, I have to laugh at myself because I was very, very heavy handed in like telling African American stories or my version of an African American story. And okay, Black people, don't come for me. Okay, don't come for me. But technically, I'm not African American. Technically, culturally, okay, I am first generation West Indian. Like I'm immigrant, right? So an immigrant experience in this country is very different from the lived in experience of people who've been here for generations. My cousins got dropped off here in the mainland America. My family got dropped off in the Caribbean islands. Okay. We are all family. We are all Black. I prefer the term Black because it, to me, it says no matter anyone of African descent, no matter where they are in the world, we're all related and connected. But culturally, my experience in America is definitely a dual one. It is at home, West Indian immigrant, and then going out in the world, school, everywhere else, and interacting, just being a part of a larger Black American, African American um, cultural expression because, you know, I look like everybody else, right? And so I get treated like every other Black person in this country. Ain't nobody checking for which country or nothing like that. So I understand that. But to tap into stories that are not natively my own, I think is a little bit presumptuous. So that's all the only point I want to make. I was a bit presumptuous in writing these stories, and I think some of the characters and some of the language comes across as a bit caricature-ish. Okay, yes, new word of my own creation. Some of these, because I think I read y'all the other story with rate. Oh God, I forgot the name of the story, but I did it. I'll show you which episode it was in. Um, it's sounding similar to me, so that for me gets a, a thumbs down. But I think what I do well and what I did well and what I do well is I love a good scene description, like making you feel like you are right in that setting and just making that pop. Okay, that's what I think I do well. Y'all could be the judge as you listen. Anywho, here we go. So this story is called Greener Grass, and like I said, I'm only going to read a portion of it because I'm already 7 minutes into this recording and I'm not editing. If you know, you know. Your girl drinks a crap ton of water every day, and she's got some kind of cute mug to drink it out of, always. All right, greener grass child. No, child is not in the title. It's just greener grass. Okay, I'm not even gonna bother trying to read my handwritten edits. Let's go. And it was written February of 1993. When is that? Sophomore year of college? Sophomore year of college. I was 19? 19. So don't judge me. Okay. All right, greener grass. And this is a cold read too. Child, I ain't read this in years. All right, here we go. He had walked all the way there, but now considered turning back. He ran his palm over his bare brown chest, realizing it was sweaty, then wiped it on his pants. After after the 2 miles in the midday Texan sun, he decided he would tell her. The screen door with its wooden frame creaked on its hinges as T stepped into the diner. A fly bumped into his dark forehead, then buzzed on, inputting its own sound into the room's monosyllable. A country ballad crooned from a tired jukebox that was near him in the entryway. It took its time spinning out its tune, in much the same way the air was deciding to circulate. The two dusty ceiling fans in that long column of space hadn't yet given up as they churned, mixing the rising cigarette smoke into the thick, humid air. T mopped his face with his shirt. A few people in the booths looked up front. I'm sorry. A few people in the booths up front looked up at T, snorted some comments to themselves, then disregarded him. Backs of the figures at the counter remained to him as he headed for a booth in the rear. Their bright pink faces were bent over their food. T slank into the last booth with his back to everyone and put his head into his hands. What were they going to do now? His stomach growled. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 36 cents. Not even enough to buy coffee. Why had he come here? There was nothing she could do anyway. He was about to get up to leave when, Tea? Sugar? What you doing all the way down this side of town? It was Shirley, the red-headed waitress who'd been there for as long as his mother had been, even longer. She never seemed to age. Her hair was always done up in an elaborate tangle of curls that was on the verge of looking like she woke up with it that way. She was healthy. Oh, I missed an article. She was a healthy-looking woman and would always refer to how well she kept up her figure whenever questioned as to why she couldn't keep a man. Now, her pale hand was on T's dark shoulder, and she was looking into his brown eyes. To see you, T framed a smile. Now, don't you lie to me. She looked at him from the corner of her eye. I could take you over my knee the way your mama used to. They both chuckled. Want some coffee? She offered. Nah, I ain't got no money. Nonsense. She fanned his comment away. It's on me. I'ma go get Emma Jean for you. She promptly bought the coffee, then disappeared through the kitchen's swinging doors to get his mother. T put his face over the cup, and the steam condensed on it. He didn't notice her until she called his name. Tyrone, wear your shirt. He looked up and showed I'm a mess. He looked up and showed her the crumpled piece of cloth in his hand. I can't believe you came in here with no clothes on, Emma Jean went on as if she hadn't seen. T remained silent and pulled it over his head, hoping she would let it rest. Then she said, Wait a minute. Shouldn't you be at work? She wiped her hands on a used-to-be white apron tied around her large waist. The scent of the last hamburger she fried clung to her. She slid her large frame into the seat across from him. Her chest almost reached out to the table. T sighed. Don't beat around the bush, he coached himself. Just say it. I got laid off from the lumber yard. Her face fell. Her face slowly fell. She cast her eyes down and ran them along the light. Child, I can't read. I can read, but I'm just like, wait, what? Listen. Okay. Listen, let me tell you something. I didn't even notice my other podcast episodes. I wasn't even on camera. Okay. Okay. So look, I'm getting this episode up on today. All right. Where were we? Before I tripped up over my own words. Okay, I just got laid off from London. Yeah. Okay. Her face slowly fell. She cast her eyes down and ran them along the light green tiled floor that had faded with time and grease. She crossed her arms across. Girl. Editing. She crossed her arms across her bosom and hugged herself as though shivering. So what we gonna do? He wiped his palm across his chest again and watched Shirley fly into the kitchen to pick up an order. Well, T, his mother started, it might not be too late to enroll in that school up the road. Mama, his hand swatted the table. She jumped. The people in the booth in front of them turned around. He lowered his voice. Mama, don't start that again. T put his hand to his forehead and rolled his eyes behind it. But T, she pleaded, you a bright boy, but you ain't been able to keep a job this year. You gotta think of our plan. Mama, I don't know about you and this plan. Maybe you ought to, hey, keep it in the closet, you two. It was Shirley, pleasantly popping gum. She noticed the silence. What's going on? Why the long faces? T lost his job. Oh, I'm sorry, sugar, but I'm sure you could turn something up pretty soon. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you could turn something up soon, pretty boy like you. She winked. T ducked his head under the attention. Don't you go trying to pick up my son, Shirley. We got enough problems without some hot woman on his tail. Emma Jean arranged her dark lips into a frown. Shirley's face turned a color to match her hair. Rope it in, Emma. She put a hand on her shapely hip. I known T for a young thing. I couldn't possibly. She bent down her face next to Emma Jean's. You just scared some pretty woman's gonna take him away from you. Emma Jean opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Shirley tossed a over her shoulder as she walked away. The nerve of that girl, Emma Jean finally found her voice. T had been suppressing his laugh the whole time and said, Relax, Mama, she's only kidding. Kidding my left foot, and don't you go sticking up for that hot miss. She thrust up a finger across the table at his face. And you listen to me. T swallowed at the tone of her voice. I don't want all my hard work going down the drain. You either gonna go to that school or you're gonna get a job or you gonna go ah! Sorry, y'all. You're gonna either go to that school or you're gonna get a next job and keep it. But don't you mama me. You gonna make a change tonight. And you gon' so this is where the kitchen has moved to. The high-pitched, twangy voice belonged to a short, balding man with a gut and bowed legs. He wasn't white. He was pink from head through his chest that was visible through his open shirt to toe. His hat hadn't saved him from the sun. He wasn't an impressive 40-ish man, but T scrambled up from his seat anyway. Afternoon, Mr. Tuck. Tuck nodded in T's direction, but continued looking at his mother. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tuck. T just stopped by to say hello. It took Emma Jean a little while to oh, editing. It took Emma Jean a while to herself scramble up from her seat. Anyway, child. All right. Well, I guess your boy don't know the value of hard work. He looped his thumbs into his pockets. Well, actually, Miss Tuck, he just got laid off. Do you think there'll be any positions opening soon? Her mind worked quick. No, not if y'all gonna keep my customers waiting. You best be careful, Emma Jean. You been good all these years. I ain't got no room for slack. He walked up front and sat at the bar and demanded something from Shirley. Emma Jean looked hard at her son. I gotta go. We'll pick this up later. Take a quick water break. Okay, 16 minutes in. We're gonna finish this up. We got one more page. Page and a half. He hadn't meant to get his mother in trouble. He kicked a can across the railroads. He kicked the can across the railroad tracks. 3 miles away, the trains in the freight yard huffed and puffed. He looked down at the metal rails that were nailed to the soil. He and his friends used to play cowboys and Indians across them as boys. He and his friends used to play cowboys and Indians across them as boys. Again, editing. I was 19, y'all, okay? 19. I wasn't an editor yet. Cut me some slack. All right. Okay. Once it was his friends' Fishtail's turn to be cowboys. T, Ajax, Black, and Milt were the Indians and had to tie Fishtail's hands with ropes to the tracks. They ran around whooping loud and wildly, thinking Fish's screams were a part of the fun. When they heard the train's whistle, they barely had enough time to get him off the tracks. T now crossed over them, chuckling at the memory as he jumped down a small precipice to the street. Fishtail. For all T knew, the train was probably his ultimate doom. That's what took him away when he left one day last year. He had sworn he was going to make it out of the dump they lived in and never come back. No one heard from him since. T looked back at the faded green metal overpass. It was the only eastern artery into or out of Fort Worth for trains. The soil in which the concrete supports had been pitched in were eroding, exposing the base. That set of tracks had been carrying his friends and neighbors away and back for all of his 19 years. He had always wondered when it would take him away. He looked at the road that curved upwards underneath the overpass and away, about 2 miles down, the lonely stretch that suddenly became Center Avenue for the city. But here, the other way, it was Melba Street. The road dipped down, and then he was able to see the strips of dejected-looking houses. Some children who had gotten home from school were out playing on the street. School. T realized at the age of 14 that what he was learning in the classroom had little to nothing to do with life on Melbus. So he dropped out, of course, to the dismay of his mother. Disappointing her didn't get easy with time, but it was becoming more and more frequent. Every now and then, a mother or older sister would come out of a house and call out a name. 10 boys would all come running out of hiding places. When the correct one was found, the rest disappeared again, resuming their games. Older people were Older people were congregation editing. Older people were congregating on each other's porches with half broken steps, speaking of the success of faraway children and grandchildren, or of dead dreams of 30 years ago as though they had been realized. Despite the motion going on in the street, the air seemed stagnant, although it wasn't as hot as it was a few hours before. T climbed up his own set of creaking stairs to his door, and suddenly didn't want to go in. He decided to go to see Harrison. From a child, T always liked his history lessons better. Harrison's house was at the end of the block, or the first, depending on how you looked at the dead-end street. It was cut off by a massive overgrown field of scorched grass and dry weeds that stretched out for miles in a rough half circle. The home stood feebly at the base of the field, the sole soldier trying to keep it at bay. T heard voices before he actually reached the porch. Harrison always had young and old around him. Two of T's friends, Milt and Ajax, were there. They exchanged what's ups as T stepped up. The small party of men made space for him. Harrison himself was the only one sitting in a chair that his ex-wife found in some white person's garage. Ex, but not legally. She didn't have the time or money to file for a divorce. She just picked up and left. And that, friends, is where we're going to leave off. There's about, I'm at the top of page 6, and this story has 11 pages. So we will pick up with this story in the next episode of Unpublished, where I share unpublished fiction work, but I will start talking also about my writing process for fiction and nonfiction. I have a book that as soon as I finish publishing the one that I'm publishing now, I'm going to be writing a second book, and it's going to be pretty quick, and I'll get that to market quick. And I will take you through that process. So you get to see my fiction writing process, my nonfiction writing process, and just, it's just all writing. Okay, it's all good. So thanks for hanging out with me in this episode, and I will see y'all in the next one. Unpublished is back, y'all. She's back, and she's on camera. It's 2025, new year, new me. If this happens to be your first time seeing me, hearing me, checking out Unpublished, go back to one of these past episodes and check it out. Bye, y'all.